Hi, I'm James Taylor.
And I'm Alison Burns.
And together we are
the Ethical Futurists.
Now, you're listening to the Ethical Futurist podcast, where we dive into the world of sustainability, ethics, and why these ideas today are more important than ever before. Now, join us as we engage with leading thinkers, with business leaders, with academics, with entrepreneurs, with investors, and change makers to uncover the latest ideas shaping a more ethical and sustainable future. We're going to be covering a lot of different things in this podcast as well.
We are indeed. From sustainability, innovation to future trends and ESG.
Our conversations span a wide array of topics, including renewable energy. We're going to be looking at clean tech, ethical investing,
food systems, and much more.
Yeah. In each episode, we explore really crucial issues such as carbon emissions, the circular economy. We're going to be talking about rewilding,
net zero carbon goals,
and the future of food and energy, something that Alice and I are really passionate about.
So whether you're interested in lab-grown meat, alternative proteins, sustainable finance, or climate-related risk, we've got you covered. Are you looking to secure a keynote speaker who's well-versed in sustainability, ESG, or any of the engaging topics featured on the Ethical Futures podcast? Well, look no further. Connect with the experts at MENA Speakers to book your ideal speaker today.
Just go to MENA-speakers.com. That's MENA-speakers.com. Alternatively, you can drop them an email at book@MENA-speakers.com to book the perfect speaker for your next event. Edward Hamod is the CEO and founder of Switch Foods, a food tech startup revolutionizing the culinary landscape with its innovative plant-based meat alternatives. With a wealth of experience and a successful track record in leading esteemed food manufacturing and production organizations across the Middle East, Edward identified a pressing need in the region for healthy, nutritious, sustainable, and locally sourced food options. This realization fueled his passion for contributing to national food security, promoting source diversity, and creating alternative meat varieties that cater specifically to the Middle Eastern palates. Edward's commitment to sustainability and his unwavering belief in the potential of nutritional plant-based diets are not only driving forces behind Switch Foods, but also reflect his strong conviction that food tech plays a pivotal role in the region's aspirations for enhanced food security. Edward, welcome to the Ethical Futures podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So share with us what's going on in your world just now. What currently has your focus?
So many things, in addition to the last couple of days of rain or outside of it. No, actually, we embarked on this journey with Switch Foods about a year and a half ago. Actually, the research started almost 2 years ago. And part of starting a new venture, you have to deal with the not only with the cool or innovative part of the business, but the business as a whole. So today, obviously, we've launched in the UAE market last June. We just launched in Lebanon as well in January. We're now also on our way to Kuwait and Qatar. So there's a lot of going on that front. But we're also focused on new product development. So we have a new product a pipeline coming in with a new plant-based chicken range that's going to hit the market very soon. And we're also expanding our production facilities as well to be able to cater to those plant-based chicken lines. So there's a lot going on in addition to all the collaborations and partnerships and strategic let's call it alignment with a lot of hospitality groups, government agencies, airlines, caterers, the whole 9 yards.
You've just said the magic word for me, airline caterers, because the amount of flights that we've been on and we have been so poorly served for plant-based options. So if there's a revolution there, I'm all up for it. I'm totally up for seeing Switch Foods being available to us. But this has been a hugely innovative time for you. So throughout your career, what are the top 3 accomplishments that you would say are the ones that stand out?
I wouldn't say they're my accomplishments. I would say they're the team's accomplishments. So yeah, this switch started as a thought that became an idea, then became a reality. Along this journey, the team came along. People came and left as well. Came in for certain projects or expertise or technology or know-how transfer. But I believe that where we are today is accumulation of the efforts of the team that we're building, or the family that we're part of at Switch. So I'd say from day one, our focus was on innovating in that space. We thought that the space was lacking, especially in our region, with a product market fit, right? So we saw generic hamburgers, some sausages, some nuggets on the shelves. And we thought, that the consumers was ready for the next generation of novel plant-based foods. This is why we localized and differentiated our offerings to include foods that are familiar to the region, that are actually enjoyed in the region even by expats or visitors. So we have the kebabs, the kaftas, the sujouk. So this was very innovative from our part. We also always focused on creating that delicious and savory product while never compromising on the quality and health proposition of our product. So having a clean label product with a short list of ingredients that's all natural, GMO free, vegan was very, very important for us. And finally, also what we're doing in terms of footprint is something that we keep an eye on. So it goes from the way we source our raw material to the material we use in packaging. So the whole value chain of our product and its footprint is something we always keep an eye on.
Now, the other day, Alison and I, because we believe in research on this show, and we went to the Safadi Restaurant here in Dubai, great restaurant, Lebanese restaurant, and we were delighted to see a whole range of Switch meals, and there was a whole different things. I would say that for me, the kebab was the highlight. I thought it was an excellent kebab. Now, when you're having to convince a retailer or an airline or a hotel group or even a customer, like what are the main things that you're talking to them about in order to make them make that switch from the traditional meat food?
So Al-Safadi is a great example, and every channel that you just spoke about has a different proposition or a different, let's say, objectives, right? So when you talk to the airlines, you're talking more to on the carbon footprint, on the sustainability, on the local sourcing, on the dependability, reliability of having, our production facilities in the country, 30, 40 kilometers away from them. Airlines are concerned about, food diversity, being able to cater to a diverse list of clientele like yourself. Some are vegan, some are vegetarians, people from all over the world with different taste palettes, right? So we talk to them about the food, we present to them the opportunities, and we also talk about, sustainability, their carbon footprint, which is a very big mandate for them. Large restaurant and hotel groups also have a very sophisticated sustainability mandate, local sourcing. So we see some of the groups we work with, like, the Millennium Hotels or the First Group, they have a very strong sustainability mandate, and they focus on local sourcing that comes from the top. Their CEOs look at these KPIs. Their whole management teams are focused on expanding their local sourcing activities, on supporting local businesses, on making sure they elevate their sustainability measures within the group of companies. Quick service restaurants are talking about, product diversity, about price, about quality, about food safety, all of that. And then you go to the, let's call it them, specialized restaurant like Al Safadi or others that we work with, who are masters and pioneers of their own domain. Today Al Safadi, I think, has 7 locations across the UAE, and the owners, the management, it's a family-owned business at the end of the day, family-owned and family-ran, and And Mr. Fadi Safadi himself is a butcher by trade, so he understands he understands meat, he understands quality, he understands ingredients, right? So the first conversation, when we first talked about this idea, obviously he wasn't open to it. He was very protective of his brand. But I think he quickly realized, with the help of his family, his sons that are in the business with him, that they're part they've been part of Dubai and the progression of Dubai and the UAE, and they quickly understood that they needed to also progress in terms of their food offerings and to cater to their sustainable clientele, their vegan clientele, their health conscious clientele, their climate conscious clientele, and they wanted to do what they can to reduce the footprint of the business and to improve its sustainability pillars. So obviously without compromising on taste, because at the end of the day, no chef and no restaurant owner will accept to put a dish on their menu that they're not convinced 100% that is a great food. So we went with them on a period of trials. They've got Chef Omar, who's their head chef, who's an expert in culinary. Tested the product. They were very impressed with the product. That was step one, right? They had experimented with other products before, plant-based products before. They weren't really convinced. With Switch, they were convinced, and that was, once you cross that hurdle, everything becomes easier, right? So it's no longer debatable on taste. It's debatable on how you want to position the brand, all that. But I think they've showed open-mindedness. They showed progressiveness. They showed their responsibility of supporting players within the space, and it's been a great collaboration, and I think they've done well in terms of positioning as well for themselves, and they got a lot of recognitions.
Well, they absolutely knocked it out of the park, especially the pairings that they had. I mean, I think we had the kebab with a tomato. There was a beautiful, I think it was a kibbeh with muhammara that they had as well. So there was a lot of kind of creative in terms of the pairings.
And also as well, they had the mince, the actual, I think it was unadulterated mince on top of the hummus, which you could taste that on its own. Meat, and it was. So
this is a traditional, Arabic dish, hummus bilahme, which is hummus with meat, and they replaced, which is very difficult to do because you're replacing it's standalone meat. It has no sauce on it, nothing. So it's like naked meat. You can't camouflage the taste.
There's nowhere to hide. That's what it is.
Right. That's what it is. And I think. So they were adventurous with that. They replaced one of the most, difficult dishes to replicate with a plant-based dish, and it's been a great success. And they've done it well. To their credit, we just sell them the meat, the minced meat, and they cook it, they mince it, they spice it the way they want. It's their dish. It's not. We play zero part. But I've had comments from people that that ordered it, never told their guests that this is plant-based, ate it. People didn't even know. Yeah. On the opposite, they enjoyed it more. So they've done great, and I think the collaboration is there to go bigger. We have 4 dishes on their menu today. Like you said, we have the kibbeh, the lahm b'ajin, the kebab khashkhash, the hummus bilahme, and hopefully some new dishes to come soon.
That's great. And I suppose it's people joining the dots between health, sustainability, good food, and responsibility to the planet. But in relation to environmental sustainability, and it's well reported that animal agriculture is one of, if not the most destructive industries in terms of the environment. And it's that long established narrative that we're fed as children growing up, that good food equals meat, animal meat. How do we change that narrative?
So it's not an easy task, especially that change is difficult, right? Change in anything you do is difficult, let alone, your food consumption habits, which is a big part of your day, your social setting. It's not just fuel you're adding to the car. There's a savory element to it. There's a social element to it. There's a cultural element to it. That being said, if you look at younger generations and future generations, they are very aware of what's happening in the world. I think we're doing a mistake by not preserving what our fathers and grandfathers gave to us, right, in terms of climate and nature. I think us humans are becoming more and more selfish, looking at the short term, and we're not passing these values or this treasure that was handed to us, which is, earth, to our children's or grandchildren's in the way we should. Like you very well said, today the food system globally is the second largest emitter, right after the energy sector. Now, the energy sector, we all know that faces challenges. Yet, with that, the energy sector, especially in the region, if we look at like what ADNOC is doing, and they're investing billions into, renewable energy, green energy, all of that. And I believe with the kind of investment they're doing and with the focus that they're putting on becoming greener and more sustainable, very soon our food system will become the largest emitter globally, the most destructive sector globally, on top of all the waste that it sustains today. So we have been taught throughout the years with marketing and advertising and all of that to become a highly consuming species, right? So we eat more than we need, we consume more than we need, correct? And this has been commercially driven for years. So you cannot change it in just a flick of a finger. It needs policymakers, it needs regulators, it needs governments, it needs taxations, it needs removal of subsidies. The meat industry is a $1.4 trillion industry, if I'm not mistaken. The meat lobby in the US is one of the biggest lobbies and more powerful, more active. And we see its effect on plant-based. Today, they're trying to attack our industry left and right, which is fine. It shows that, they're feeling a bit of heat. And we see some numbers in Europe that meat consumption is declining per capita. Plant-based is increasing. In our region, we still lack that, right? And this was where, the role of education, government policy, government programs, government communication plans come. Because governments in our region, what I learned over the last few years is that they're very credible. So when they stand behind the program, people believe it and follow through. So yeah, I think our food choices as human beings are very important, which is what we try to communicate at Switch. We are not trying to, at Switch, sustainability is a core pillar of what we do, right? Other than health and delicacy, but what we try, our messaging is we don't want you to become vegan. We don't want to intrude into people's lives or lifestyles. We just want you to reduce your meat intake. We want you to just be more conscious of your food choices. Don't stop meat, but you don't have to eat it every day, right? It doesn't do you good. It doesn't do your kids good. And it doesn't do the world good. So we're just giving you a solution to be able to reduce your meat intake.
And on this journey that you've had with Switch Foods, was there a key aha moment, a key realization, or you suddenly just thought about things a little bit differently?
The aha moments were like on a daily basis. If you look at our journey, it's not like we've existed for 10 years. From the time we started till the time we launched in the market, it was less than 18 months. Even investors did not. But when I was raising capital and I was saying, we're going to be live in 12 months, investors were telling me, take 36 months. It's fine. You don't. They thought it wasn't realistic. But so we were always very aggressive in terms, and we're very committed. By aggressive, I mean committed. Like we worked around the clock. We accelerated our R&D path because we knew time to market was very important, and we knew that the quality of the product was our top priority. Because if you launch with a product that's, just okay or barely above average, which is the mistake of many other companies. We have a lot of plant-based meat companies in the world that have launched and failed. So there was learning every day, right? And sometimes, you're working on texture and you do something, and the way you process it or the way you hydrate it, that just, oh my God, okay, now I understand. And we still get those. Don't get me wrong. Every time we coordinate or we collaborate with a top level scientist, with a chef, we collaborated with a lot of chefs because we were focused on the culinary aspect of the product, not just the technology. We get new aha moments and different. So there are many. First time we're able to, incorporate, the fresh parsley and tomato into the kafta, or onion tomato into the kafta, and we got it. The way it did was insane. We were trying to do something else, and we came up with a sujo. That was a different product. Adapting the casings to it. So very proud of the journey and very proud of the team.
Lots of innovation going on. Wonderful. As we start to finish up here, a few quick fire questions for you. Is there a book that you'd maybe recommend to our audience? It could be on some of these things, food, sustainability, or just a book that personally inspires you as an entrepreneur.
The Omnivore's Dilemma is a book I can think of by Michael Pollan. It's a great book that talks about consumption society, how we've been, let's say, programmed to consume, and all of that, and the importance of our food choices. I would recommend the audience to read it.
Great. I remember from that book, one of his rules was, don't buy anything that you don't recognize all the things on the label.
Right.
And your label is very clear. I know all these. There's not
Right.
lots of numbers and there's things I don't know what they are.
100%.
Is there a film or a podcast that you like to listen to, a film that you would recommend to watch? Or
The Changemakers on Netflix talks about plant-based and demystifies it and shows clearly the benefits of plant-based versus conventional meat.
Great. And the final question from me is, I always think the word sustainability is used a lot today, and it's used often, but it's almost like off the cuff now, or it's kind of a throwaway, but it's not given the due weight and responsibility that actually should encompass what that word actually means for the planet, environment, and for the future of the humans and all living sentient beings on the planet. So with that in mind, what does an ethical and sustainable future look like for you, so that a future that we feel proud to leave to future generations?
So it's simple. It's you just have to embed. For me today, we make it's all about choices of the masses, right? We make choices every day. These choices, a lot of those choices that we make them as a I don't know if I'm using the right word, but as part of the herd, right? We don't think about them; they come natural to us. You stop, you pick up your coffee in the morning, you go down to the canteen, you have your lunch in the afternoon, you eat whatever is given to you, or you go buy the food that you're used to buying. These are automatic reflexes without thinking of the impact of these choices. I think what we owe ourselves first, and then our kids and the world, is to give our food choices the same level of thought and to project our values through the food choices that we make on a daily basis. Because if we look today, our biggest impact, the biggest impact we have on the planet and on ourselves is what we eat. People always are talking about their health, the amount of diseases, the amount of pandemics, natural disasters, the hospitals are always full. Well, take a step backwards and reflect. Why are you in the hospital? Why do you have diabetes? Why do you have cardiovascular disease? Why do you have cancer, right? It's all about the intake. It's all about what we put in our bodies that is, causing, these certain unfortunate events in our lives, whether it's being on the climate side, which is, we see a progression and an increase in the amount of natural disasters, or in the frequency of the natural disasters, or in our bodies. We look at our numbers, we all do blood tests, and every time we go to the doctor and we see our numbers, they say stay off red meat or stay off meat in general, right? So we just need to put a little bit more thoughts into our food choices and project our values through what we do.
Great. Be more mindful.
And if people want to learn more about Switch Foods, if they want to try some of the Switch Foods as well, where's the best place for them to go to learn more about the company and what you're working on?
So they can visit our website, switchfoods.com. They can call us. They're welcome to visit us. We're very open to bringing, we bring sometimes school students. We work with the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change on some, when kids are interested in their programs, sustainability programs. We have our Instagram, which is switch_foods. We have our LinkedIn. There's my personal LinkedIn. And we're accessible, modest people, so they can call me, they can call the office, they can reach out to anyone at the team.
Well, we'll put all these links on the show notes here on theethicalfuturist.com. Edward Hamod, thank you so much for being a guest today on the Ethical Futurist podcast.
Thank you,
Thank
Edward.
you very much for having me. Enjoyed the conversation.
If you're considering making sustainability or ESG one of the themes for your next conference, your event, or perhaps a company retreat, then why not invite Alison and myself to be your keynote speakers or event MCs? We've delivered really inspiring co-keynote programs for some of the world's largest organizations from all different kinds of industries. Now, the Ethical Futurist keynote will take your audience on a journey to discover how the world's most ethical and sustainable companies are really innovating in their industries. So if you'd like to learn more about booking Alison and I as the Ethical Futurist for your next event, then simply head to theethicalfuturist.com/speaking. That's theethicalfuturist.com/speaking to schedule a call to discuss with us your next event. We're delighted that you listened to this podcast, and we'd really thank you if you could just take a moment now to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Also, while you're there, why not give us a 5-star rating and leave us a review? It would really mean a lot to Alison and I. So from me, James Taylor.
And me, Alison Burns.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Futurist podcast.